He was 4 years younger than me, but that was not the biggest difference between us. He was a large baby, already on the verge of catching up to my size. His skin was tanned without much exposure to the sun. His thick brown hair fell over his defining feature, a birthmark that stretched across his forehead, as if a painter had not quite finished their work of art before he arrived in this world. Doctors had tried to fix it in the birth suite before realising it was part of who he was. He was nothing like the pale-skinned, white-haired kid who looked at me in the mirror when I was forced to brush my teeth. Perhaps our eyes were the only matching features. They still showed the innocence of kids, happy to go along for a ride with our mum. Despite our differences, I felt a wave of responsibility towards him. "Do you need to feed him?" I asked. "Probably," Mum said quietly. "But he just got to sleep. Let's leave him here for now." Mum's muscled arms unhooked my seatbelt and slid me out of the car. She pulled my head into the side of her hip where she stood, glancing down at a torn sheet of paper to double-check the address. "This is it," she said, pointing to the first of the 4 units squeezed onto the suburban block. Aging dark brown brick sat below the flaking paint of the eaves. A cast iron handrail led up the 4 stairs to the door. Immediately ahead of the unit, a symphony of traffic rushed by. "Home," Mum said, and turned to retrieve the first of our gear from the car. There was a calmness to her voice that reassured me. This was a safe place. This is what she'd been trying to explain to me earlier in the day. We would arrive at a new house, a new life, a new beginning. There was still confusion. One day we were sitting around the fire playing Duplo with Dad in our little cottage in the country. The next we were being packed into a car and shipped off to a horizon of tall buildings and great unknowns. But Mum had been quite clear. Wherever we ended up, it would be our home as long as we had each other. This squashed up pile of bricks was our home. I saw movement from an adjacent unit's window. 2 plastic shutters twanged shut as a pair of eyes retreated. I pulled on Mum's shirt, but she just pushed me towards the door. In one hand she held a little white cage containing my green-feathered friend, Budge. In the other she carried a plastic bag of milk and bread. Nan had slid in the front seat before we left. She placed her cargo on the desolate laminate bench, staring at a brick wall immediately outside the kitchen window. Budge had chirped the whole journey, but had now gone quiet. "For goodness sake," Mum said, wiping a finger across a mouldy sink. "You'd think they'd clean the place up a bit." We walked into the cramped living area, Mum looking wistfully out the bay window. The white trunk of a birch almost covered the backdrop of traffic shuffling past. Almost, but not quite. She lifted me and stalked into her bedroom, heaving the cupboards open with her free hand. The smell of mothballs wafted out before she swung the doors shut again. Raised voices carried from outside. Mum went to see what the commotion was about. "Oh, fuck," she said, dropping me to the floor. "It's all right, he's mine." A woman wearing a silver perm and a pink dressing gown was standing with a man in a blue cotton singlet at the back window of our car. "Get that kid out of there," the man said, pointing angrily directly at Mum's face. "We were about to call the cops." Mum flung the back door open as Jessie began to scream. "He's fine," she said. "He just needed some sleep." Our new neighbours grumbled to each other as they hobbled back into their own box. Mum flung Jessie on her shoulder and pushed me inside. She laid my brother on the brown carpet as a makeshift change table and fumbled through a cracked nylon handbag until she found the small box she wanted. "I wish they'd hurry up and bring that bloody piano," she said through her teeth, lighting up a smoke. Mum watched from the steps, Jessie at her breast, while I put rocks and leaves and a little toy cash register on the ground. The truck thudded into the driveway, pulling up so close that it almost crushed my game. 2 burly blokes